pilots, our great big DC-6 was up to 17,000 feet. But the pilot only smiled and said, this is our regular cruising altitude, even from Miami to Panama. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? That's all Mom could say. Right down below us in the pass, the pilot said, is a giant statue. The Christ of the Andes, which marks the boundary between Chile and Argentina. Then we passed Aconcagua, highest peak in the hemisphere, and we're soon over the Andes.
Gee willikers, you and Mom sure did see the works, didn't you?
It all seems so far away, like a different world.
As a matter of fact, Santiago, Chile is less than a 24-hour flight from here.
Well, anyhow, next, Buenos Aires. And what a city that is. Big, modern, very gay, very much like New York, and even more like Paris. Oh, I know we'd been told BA was the third largest city in all the Americas, with busy streets, subways, and lots of fashionable shops, but what a surprise it was anyhow. And by the way, here's a couple we palled around with. We went shopping for alligator bags, and what bags? At such reasonable prices, we couldn't resist them. We sort of had to go sightseeing to get away from the temptation of shopping. And oh, yes, here's a replica of Rodin's famous Thinker that sits pensively in the beautiful plaza in front of Argentina's national capital. We enjoyed BA's beautiful parks, too, particularly on a Sunday afternoon when so many of the local folks were out for a weekend holiday. Everyone knows that Argentina is famous for its fine horse. Nearly everyone rides, even the small fry. And you should see the Sunday bicycle races in Palermo Park. Hundreds and hundreds of them. You'd never believe they could get so many bicycles in one place. And the auto races right through the city streets. It's safest to watch from a tree. The Argentinians go in mighty strong for sports, but it was beautiful San Isidro racetrack in the fashionable suburbs that convinced us which was their king of sports. Horses run on velvety turf, like a well-kept lawn. A visit to the stockyards gave us a good idea of the real wealth of this country. Fat, sleek, of fine grade, and in fantastic numbers. Livestock of all kinds continually comes in from the fertile, grassy plains of the vast Pampas. We hadn't realized that BA was such a great shipping port. Just imagine, 60 years ago, this was a young and undeveloped country. But look at it today. Ships from nearly every port on Earth, coming and going, and always big cargoes. largest grain elevator on Earth, so we heard. Raising thoroughbred horses may not advance Argentina's world trade, but it's one of the country's proud traditions. Derby winners and the best stock of Europe and North America are brought here to produce faster and fancier mounts. Some go in for polo ponies. This is one of 8 ponies that were shipped by Pan American plane to San Francisco, California, so their owner could play in one particular polo game. Do you recognize this big fellow? You guessed it, the wild bull of the Pampas, Luis Angel Firpo, of that most famous of all prize fights, the Dempsey-Firpo fight back in 1923. Today, Firpo is a very wealthy cattle rancher, owning 4 large estancias with many thousand head of beef cattle. He requires special horses strong enough to carry him. How we enjoy the pericon, the traditional dance of the old-time gauchos. They danced it in the colonial days of Spanish rule, and it's as dignified and as suave as a minuet. And what a catchy melody. Then beautiful Yao Yao in the edge of the Andes, a garden spot of scenic grandeur. But why try to describe it? Suppose you just imagine yourself right there with us. We came back to BA just in time for our scheduled takeoff and began our journey northward along the east coast of South America. We changed here to the plush perfect comfort of Pan American's luxurious El Panamericano clippers. Within a little more than an hour, Montevideo spread her pastel pattern below our magic carpet. We'd heard a lot about Montevideo, charming capital of Uruguay, gateway to the fashionable Latin American Riviera. Uruguay, you know, is the smallest country in South America, but her capital is as modern as Washington, D.C. And what a magnificent national capital she has. And some skyscraper office buildings, too. Many of her public buildings and apartment houses are as modern as day after tomorrow. And her beautiful parks are rich with imposing monuments. This one of La Carreta, the cart, honors the country's pioneers. And the obelisk commemorates the founding of the Republic. And what beaches! Over 300 miles of them. Here, the tall, dark, and handsomes and brown-eyed senoritas come to display their latest hairdo. Montevideo is also known as the City of Roses. Even the trees bear fragrant blossoms in this beautiful and proud city. The government is the foremost impresario of opera, music, and the Ballet del Sodre, which often dances with the city as a backdrop to the music of the 120-piece Montevideo Symphony Orchestra. Fine highways link Montevideo with the many fashionable resorts along the shore, each with its own abundance of golden sand beach. We found that the most popular resort in all South America is Punta del Este, Point of the East, which is the gathering place for the smart set of all Latin America. Even North America and Europe have awakened to its attraction. It is as chic as Paris, as gay as Hollywood, and yet as democratic as a family reunion. And such scenery. The rich polo-playing South Americans have lavish taste. As one bon vivant laughingly told us, little yachts like this one? Oh, they just use them one season and then give them to their poor relatives. That may be an exaggeration, but these nice folks really know how to enjoy life. And they come to Punta del Este as an appropriate place to practice it. Cantagril Country Club is the place to meet the nice folks, and yet it's okay to turn up in a formal here, slacks, or even a bathing suit. And what tennis courts, with always the chance of a bit of South American tete-a-tete to add spice to a fast game. With miles and miles of wonderful beaches so close, you'd think they'd overlook swimming pools, but not here. They have everything. We lived in one of these attractive little individual cottages at a cost that was less than a hotel room at some resorts we've been to in the United States. But on we go. The Salto Grande, or Big Falls of the Uruguay River, really gave us something to remember. Just wait until some fishermen I know find out about the Salto Grande and its fighting Dorado. This is the way most of the local fishermen do it. But that's just a minnow. But here's a fancy fisherman. Let's see him catch a Dorado. A strike. The Dorado is dynamite with scales on. Very few kinds of game fishing are as exciting as catching Dorado on light tackle. And there are plenty to be caught at Salto Grande. And here come the cattle and gauchos that Jimmy wanted to see. Fine cattle, too. And gauchos as rough and hard as they are picturesque. Descendants of the colonial settlers, these suntanned provincial caballeros of the Uruguayan plains have a lot in common with our old-time cowboys. Their songs are like those of the troubadours of medieval Europe, stories of people and places, sometimes spiced with comedy or satire, and sometimes very romantic. One of the songs they sang for us ran something like this. All men are devils, so women say, but they wait for the devils to carry them away. Then away we go again. It seemed all too soon when our El Panamericano was carrying us northward over the golden visas. We regretted to leave, of course, but we'd already learned that mañana really means adventure when you travel by clipper. It was nice to relax in comfort as pleasant as our own living room, and to be served with such courtesy, we thought maybe we'd been mistaken for Mr. and Mrs. Park Avenue. Pan American sleeperettes really are an innovation in traveling. Just slip out the footrest and lean way back, and what could be nicer? This is traveling in real luxury. Our big El Panamericano clippers sailed in so smoothly and so rapidly, we hardly realized we were over Rio de Janeiro. Fantastic Rio. Here we were at last. Yes, there was Copacabana Beach. We'd soon be down there on her golden sand. Rio, gay, frivolous, exotic, and beautiful beyond words. For us, it was a dream come true. There was Corcovado. In a few minutes, we were swinging out over the harbor and getting ready to come in for a landing. Brazil covers practically half of the entire South American continent, and her capital is big and prosperous. But it's the magic beauty of Rio that far outshines all else. Before you could say Copacabana Palace Hotel, we were as much at home as a veteran karaoke, which is the nickname for folks who've lived in Rio all their lives. The Cope has everything. For catering to fastidious tastes has become an art here. And say, Mom never dolled up even a Christmas dinner to look like this. But we had it every day, and it tasted just as good as it looked. We wished we could stay here forever. Uh-oh, here comes Marlene, the Copacabana's prima donna entertainer.
Chamego às vezes dói, às vezes não, chamego às vezes corre. O coração todo mundo quer saber que é o chamego. Ninguém sabe celebrar seu mulato negro, ou ninguém sabe celebrar seu mulato negro. E quem não sabe que o chamego pede pra vovó, que já fez 70 anos e não é caixotó. E reclama noite e dia por viver tão só, e reclama noite e dia por viver tão só. Ai, xodó, que chamego, que chorinho bom. E toca mais um bocadinho, se sair do tom. Olha com bate chegadinho, que chamego bom. Ai, que chamego bom, ai, que chamego bom, ai, que chamego bom, ai, que chamego bom. O chamego tá pra dentro, o chamego passa pra o chamego às vezes dói, às vezes não, o chamego às vezes cai. O coração todo mundo quer saber o que é o chamego. Ninguém sabe celebrar seu mulato negro, ou ninguém sabe celebrar seu mulato negro. E quem não sabe que o chamego pede pra vovó, que já tem 70 anos e ainda é caixotó. E reclama noite e dia por viver tão só, e reclama noite e dia por viver tão só. Ai, que xodó, que chamego, que chorinho bom. E toca mais um bocadinho, se sair do tom. Olha com bate chegadinho, que chamego bom. Ai, que chamego bom, 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 ai, que chamego bom.
For us, every day was a holiday in Rio. But not for the 2 million folks who live in this second largest city in South America and carry on the business as usual. We were fascinated even by the sidewalks, each a mosaic in colorful patterns of graceful scrolls or figures set in polished rock with the skill of a costume jeweler. And just try to find two that are alike. Yes, from its sidewalks and the people who tread upon them to the exotic grandeur of its environs, this is an exciting city of contrasts. Sugarloaf has become a symbol of Rio. Did we go up to the top of Sugarloaf? We sure did. Everybody does. By the suspended cable car, which is the only way to get there. First to the halfway peak, then onto the summit of the huge granite spire, 1,383 feet, almost straight up above the beaches. We relaxed a while at the little cafe on top, and then stood spellbound before the panorama that stretched in all directions at our feet. Corcovado and its giant statue of the Christ seemed even more impressive. So away we went by auto to see that, too. There's also a cogwheel railway to the summit. Standing nearly 1,000 feet higher than Sugarloaf, this 100-foot statue of Christ the Redeemer keeps an everlasting watch over Rio. Then we left Rio for a 40-mile ride to visit what connoisseurs claim is one of the world's most elegant hotels, the $15 million Quitandinha. And what fun we had in the refreshing mountain atmosphere. We watched the kids play a mighty fast hockey game on roller skates. And enjoyed several rides on the fine saddle horses of the hotel stables. As something a little extra special, we flew up to see the great Iguazu Falls. And here they are. And for my money, they've got it all over Niagara.
Say, how'd you like to go over that in a canoe?
Well, they're over 8,000 feet wide and 213 feet high. Then we hurried back to Rio for the biggest and most fantastic spectacle of all. You guessed it, the Rio Carnival, the mother of all carnivals. And until you have actually seen and been part of the Rio Carnival, you just haven't been anywhere or seen anything at all. Take that from us. After dark, we found that things really got hot, and this goes on for 4 days. But that Brazilian samba music sure gets in your blood. And the first thing we knew, we were right out there having as much fun as anyone. Yes, what a climax. And thanks to Pan American and Panagra for a trip crowded with more that was colorful and exciting than we had ever dreamed could be ours. For only traveling by air could we possibly have seen so much in so brief a time. Adios, South America. We live with the hope of returning to see you once again.